Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hello. If you are returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for sticking around. I really appreciate you. So, the other day I posted on my community tab about how I've been wanting and how one of my goals this year for my channel is to branch out and do some commentary on other things besides like fat acceptance, body positivity, all that kind of stuff. One, because I have a lot of thoughts and feelings on a lot of different things, and two, I get bored easily. And I've been at this for like, I think it'll be 4 years this year in July, which is insane. That's so crazy. I hadn't thought about that yet. And I'm just ready, you know? And I was happy to see that there was interest on that community tab post in me doing that. And this is going to be my first venture into something else. And I'm starting with this one because I know some people think this topic is like talked out or talked to death, but like I need to talk about the epidemic of 10-year-olds, tweens in Sephora, and like the whole discourse that is happening surrounding that right now, and in particular like tween-age girls. I need to talk about this because I have a lot of thoughts and feelings, because this whole topic has made its way from TikTok to like legitimate news outlets. I also just wanted to talk about it because I am like very protective of like younger girls, specifically like teenage girls. Now that I've like experienced more life since I was a little girl, I'm now 27, and I have experienced 14 years since I was 13. And so it just like, it makes me feel a lot of things, because I feel like the 10-year-olds themselves are being used as scapegoats for like a lot of other bigger issues at hand. So yeah, that's what we're gonna be talking about today, the 10-year-old Sephora kids. Before we get into the video, I want to thank today's video sponsor, Kitsch. Now, I have worked with Kitsch on my channel before, and I was really excited when they reached out to me to work with them again, because I really like their products. If you don't know what Kitsch is a hair and body care company, and all of their stuff is bottle free, so it comes in like a bar form. When they first reached out to me back in May, I was very skeptical of the idea of a bottle-free shampoo and like a bar form shampoo. But ever since then, I've realized I really don't care if my shampoo and conditioner come in a bottle or not. I have naturally at least wavy, I curled my hair today, but I at least have wavy hair, if not curly hair. And I have been doing my best to try and work with that the best I can. I say with curled hair, whatever. Most of the time, I'm trying my best to tend to my waves and my curls the best so that my hair doesn't get frizzy, because that's really annoying. So I told them that, and they sent me the castor oil shampoo and shea butter conditioner. And they also sent over a rosemary scalp and hair strengthening oil, which you use pre-wash, and I've really enjoyed that also. I really like hair oils and scalp oils and stuff like that, because I do get a dry scalp, so yeah. But I really think the true star of the show this go around is the satin wrapped hair towel. I was confused as to how this was going to work, but I love this thing. It does not make my hair frizzy, and it allows me to keep it up in the towel for as long as I need it to be there, and it doesn't make my hair frizzy. My hair comes out of the towel with its natural waves intact, and I really like it. I have found that Kitsch shampoo really leaves my hair feeling clean but not dry, and the conditioner really leaves my hair feeling conditioned but not like oily or weighed down. And I have a lot of hair, so the fact that I can like feel the conditioning happening is a big deal. For my viewers, Kitsch has provided a link which will be down in my description, and you can use code Megan for 25% off your first purchase. That's MEGAN for 20% off your first purchase. Thank you so much to Kitsch for sponsoring today's video, and thank you as always to you guys for continuing to interact with my content so that brands like Kitsch want to keep working with me. And yeah, let's get back into the video. So if you're not chronically online like I am, you might not know what I'm talking about here, so let me give you a little bit of a lowdown. Basically, the first video I can really track down is from a TikTok creator called Chloe Grace. because that's where this whole conversation really originated from, was TikTok. And she was getting ready and she was just talking about how she's noticed that whenever she goes into Sephora, it's like mainly like 10-year-old girls, she said. And she even saw an interaction between a very young girl and her mom, arguing because the girl wanted, I think, 2 concealers, but her mom would only get her 1, when this girl was like super young and barely had anything to conceal in the first place.
Has anyone else noticed that, like, every time you go into Sephora now, it's just all little girls? And I have never seen it to this extent. I don't know if I wasn't paying attention, but I just don't remember any beauty stores ever being like this before. Like, literally the other day, I was at a mall by my house, and I went in to just grab, I think, nail polish. And I get in line. It was a pretty long line because, you know, everyone's returning stuff after Christmas. And there was this cute little girl with her mom. She must have been, I don't know, like 7, maybe 7. Like, she was so tiny, so adorable. And I hear her start yelling at her mom. And I mean, I'm not trying to eavesdrop, but like they were being kind of loud and they were right in front of me. And so I'm listening to what she's yelling at her mom about. And her mom told her that she could only get 1 kind of concealer. Meanwhile, this little girl does not have a single blemish. I don't even think her pores have opened yet. She literally doesn't have a single pimple, under eye bags, nothing. And her mom's, like, they're getting concealer for her. And she was literally upset that she couldn't get more than 1 concealer. I don't know if this is, like, everywhere lately, but I swear every time I go into these expensive makeup stores, it's just all really young little girls, which is really upsetting to see.
And she just thought that it was like really sad that girls as young as that one in Sephora were already feeling like the pressures to like use makeup and use expensive makeup at that, which honestly, like, I can get behind that. But where it kind of started to go off the rails, as most things on TikTok do, I find, the conversation really turned then to like how poorly behaved these girls are in Sephora, meaning like they're rude to employees, they're acting entitled, they are ruining displays, they are selling out certain products that like they don't really need because they're too young and their skin's too young.
Where's all the drunk elephant, bitch? I already have all these. Why don't you do your job and go fetch me the drunk elephant bronzing drops immediately? I also want this Dior lip oil in every single shade that you have.
Let me give you the total first. That's gonna be
I don't
expensive.
need to know the total. Not everyone's broke like you, old lady. Hold my Louis Vuitton purse, peasant. I want to try this shade on. Go get me the Too Faced lip injection gloss. I saw it on TikTok and I want it. What is this? I asked for a lip plumper. I want it to look like I have lip injections. I don't want this Laneige sleeping mask. Are you stupid or did you not hear me or something?
Yay, I got the last drunk elephant cleanser.
It's mine now. Oops, you should have held on to it a little bit tighter, huh? Grab me some retinol or something for like anti-aging, okay? Sarah V, this is just a face wash. What am I supposed to do with this?
That's a little more age appropriate. I'm just trying to help you out.
Mommy said that she would buy me a Dyson Airwrap, so give it to me. Does this look like a Dyson Airwrap to you? This is like $30. The Dyson's supposed to be like $500. I'm not broke. I already said that. If you grab the wrong thing one more time, I swear I will suffocate you with my Lululemon leggings. I asked you for YSL or Gucci perfume. This is Ariana Grande.
No, they're here. They're here. Secure the drunk elephant perimeter. Now! Rope off Rare Beauty. Rope it off. Rope it off. Rope it off. Hi, is this the National Guard? Yeah, they're back. And by the looks of how many Stanley cups are in the room, we're gonna need a few choppers. Yep, just as I suspected. They're armed with Sol de Janeiro Bum Bum Cream. Approach with caution. Do you girls need help finding anything?
Shut the fuck up, Grandma. Fucking grandma loser with wrinkles. Get lip filler, bitch.
I can't do it. There are so many serums on the floor. You know, when I was your age, we had lip smackers that smelled like grape soda.
Does it look like I drink grape soda, bitch? Get me Dior lip oil.
Yes, ma'am.
What is this?
So that cream is for anti-aging. So unless you wanted to revert back to being an embryo, I'd say you don't really need it, love. No, I don't want to be in your TikTok.
Hey guys, we're here with a Sephora employee who doesn't know how to blend her foundation into her neck.
So we are actually out of the drunk elephant glow drops at the moment. Let me check the back. I can check you girls out here. Did you find everything you needed? I'd sign you up to be a beauty insider, but you have to be born before 2016. Your total is $425. Is your mom here? Oh, you have an Amex Platinum. Of course. Wow, that's heavy. Woo! What was that? I should start to gua sha for my double chin? Okay, I will.
And then it kind of morphed into just like making fun of young girls.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh my gosh, hi! Hi! Oh my gosh, you're literally like, it's just not giving, like, oh, like, that's not, like, it's literally not giving. What's this? My lip gloss. You wouldn't know anything. Wait, you don't know what Summer Fridays is? Oh my gosh. Ew, a brain rot. You're, like, not, like, you're just not, like, it girl core. Like, it's so preppy in here. I went to Sephora the other day. Yeah, I went to Sephora. I went to Sephora. And I asked the lady if they had any drunk elephant. Drunk elephant? You don't know what that is? Of course you wouldn't. And they didn't have any. No. But it's okay, because my mom said that she's going to give me the new Stanley tomorrow. Yeah, she's going to give me the white one. Yeah, she's going to give me the white Stanley. Yeah. She's going to give me the white Stanley.
That's when I started to get annoyed, was when it turned into that. And so I want to start off like the meat of this video by saying like, do I think going into any establishment and like ruining things, being rude, acting snobby or anything like that is a good way to behave or is a good thing to do? No, I don't think so. And manners are a thing, and parents should be teaching their kids manners for specific social situations to the best of their ability. And that, yes, throwing displays, being rude to employees, like acting rude is not a good thing. And I just want that out there right now. Another problem I'm seeing people talk about with this is, besides like the ruining of the displays, being rude, all of that kind of stuff, another problem I'm seeing is a lot of the skincare, particularly that these girls are after so much of the time. I've seen like brands like Drunk Elephant and Glow Recipe be thrown out as examples a lot. They're kinds of skincare that like girls that young don't need, nor should they be using. And it could be harmful to their skin. I've seen either current or former employees of Sephora or Ulta or whatever talking about how these young girls are wanting things with retinol in them or like harsh chemical exfoliants and that kind of stuff, and like their skin is so sensitive at that age most of the time that like it can cause damage. And so I think that's an important thing that like more parents should be aware of before they agree to buy these things or before they give their kids their credit card to just take into Sephora and go buck wild with. Like, I think that's something that like parents should be made more aware of, but like it's hard to know, you know? Obviously, like the whole concept of an older generation criticizing a younger generation is like nothing new and has been happening since the dawn of time. But I've really seen this discussion being had amongst people from Gen Z, or particularly women from Gen Z, which I'm going to talk about later, but Gen Z and like younger millennials, aka me, where I fall in the generation spectrum. And I really thought, like, as someone who is on the cusp of being an old Gen Z or a young millennial, I thought maybe we'd like lay off the younger generations, or at least wait until they're out of like, I don't know, elementary school. I thought we'd just like lay off them and like not criticize them. I thought we'd all maybe realize that the reason so many of us are in therapy now is because of like how we were treated by older people when we were growing up. I don't know. Apparently I was wrong. Anyways. I am not a parent, nor do I ever really plan to be a parent, because the idea of like being solely responsible for raising an entire human is horrifying to me. But I do think like the surface level issue that I had with this topic and this whole discourse that's happening is like the fact that the kids, the particularly young girls, were the ones being criticized so harshly, because most of the time while watching videos on this topic on TikTok, I'm like mentally screaming like, but what about the parents? Where are these kids learning to act this way? Or what aren't these kids being taught by their parents that's causing them to act this way? And so I really think the start of the conversation should be with parents. I am not an expert by any means on this topic. My mom is a retired preschool teacher. I would help her a lot in her classrooms on my off days from school. Also, I was involved in youth theater for like 10 years when I was younger as like a stage manager and stuff, so I was like borderline watching these kids. And so like I learned very quickly that more often than not, the kids and like their behaviors were often a product of their home environments and what their parents were doing. And a lot of the times, people who are talking about this topic, especially like employees and stuff like that, will be saying that these girls will come into the store with their parents' credit card ready to just like cause mayhem. And like, so that leads me to my first question is like, who gave them the credit card in the first place? People have been really quick to point out that this whole situation is really our first example of the generation of the first generation of iPad kids to like grow up. An iPad kid, if you don't know, is like a stereotypical term given to kids who are oftentimes given an iPad or a phone or something like that to be often used as like a form of entertainment or distraction while families are at home or like out to dinner is the most common example. And also on top of that, this generation in particular, even when they're at school, has had a lot more technology introduced into their curriculum and their learning styles in school. I think Chromebooks they use a lot. So like this generation has just had a lot more access to screen time than like even Gen Z did. And studies are now starting to come out saying that this increased screen time is and can and is leading to certain developmental delays in kids. I found this article and I'll have it linked down below, but it says that a National Institutes of Health study that began in 2018 found that children who spent more than 2 hours a day on screen time activities scored lower on language and thinking tests, and some children with more than 7 hours a day of screen time experienced thinning of the brain's cortex, the area of the brain related to critical thinking and reasoning. And I've also just seen a lot of like anecdotal evidence or examples from teachers, particularly who are turning to TikTok to like tell people about the kids in school right now. And a lot of teachers are saying that like this generation can't read or are lacking basic social and learning skills that like a child should have by the time they're in whatever grade this teacher teaches.
These kids can't read. They can't decode. They have no vocabulary, no background knowledge. I've never seen anything like it. For context, for 8 years, I taught a self-contained program for significant language-based learning disabilities. Like, it was the most restrictive environment. It was the step before being sent to a specialized school. And my fifth graders with significant language-based learning disabilities could write better than non-disabled 7th graders can now. They can't write a sentence. They don't know what state they live in. They don't know what region of the country they're in. They have no background knowledge. Most of them don't know who the president is. They're coming to school with no background knowledge. They have very low skills. And yes, part of my job is to help them find those skills. And as a special education teacher, like, I'm obviously going to be working with students who require specialized instruction, but I'm not talking about specifically my students. I'm talking about students in the grade, period. And this was the case last year. They can't take notes. They can't even attend to a video. They can't even attend to a 3-minute video clip. I can play it, I can tell them what it's going to be about, I can summarize what the video did, and not a single one can tell me what the video was about.
No, y'all, can we talk about it? Can we please talk about it? Let's take a moment to discuss. Let's take a moment to debrief. Let's take a moment to unpack. So I'm not really understanding why they're not telling y'all. Like, we all know that the world is behind, like, globally, like, because of the pandemic and stuff. But I don't understand why they're not stressing to y'all how bad it is. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny, but these kids are... I'm going to just say this. I teach 7th grade, they are still performing on the 4th grade level. I don't care how you flip it, turn it, swing it, swindle it. They still performing on a 4th grade level. Ain't nobody talking about how they just keep moving, passing them on. They just keep passing them on, 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 passing them on. I can put as many zeros in this grade book as I want to. They're gonna move that child to the 8th grade next year.
Not burned out until the 2nd semester. Okay? Usually. That's when I approach burnout. Because we get Thanksgiving, we get Christmas, we get all these things. I am burned out. It's September. It has not been a full month yet. Has it been a full? No, it's close to a full month, but it has not been a full month yet. So let me tell you, you know what I'm talking about if you're teaching right now. I saw another teacher from another school across the street from our school walking to her car this afternoon, and she looked like she could barely walk to her car. And I was like, we're almost to Thanksgiving, like, you know, trying to be friendly. And she was like, just unloaded on me. She's like, I've been teaching for 34 years. I have never had it this hard. What is wrong with these kids? Not in a bad way, but like, I don't know how to reach them. I feel like one lesson that used to take a day is taking a week now. Ooh, the attention span, blah, blah.
And I teach at one of the more affluent schools. When I tell you that these babies cannot read, they cannot write, and they cannot comprehend, I'm not being funny. I'm being dead serious. It doesn't exist. I have kids constantly asking me, how do I spell window? How do I spell important? How do I spell though? And they be serious. They're dead serious. I could ask them, who is the main character of your story? The story of 4-paragraph story we just read. Can't tell you. They don't know. They don't know. They don't know. It took us 4 weeks to get through how to answer a question in a complete sentence.
And basically, whenever I say kids can't read, they are reading at either a kindergarten or a 1st grade level. When it comes to spelling, I'm seeing a lot of children who can't even spell the word said, for, mother, father in the 4th or 5th grade, which makes me wonder what's going to happen when they're in middle school and high school.
The fact that I have 4th graders who cannot read independently at all is just like, one, what am I supposed to do? Because teachers are not miracle workers. If I'm required to teach 4th grade standards, the 4th grade standards do not include me teaching phonics. Now, I understand RTI, the MTSS process, and different safety nets like that, but doing that for 30 minutes a day is not going to solve the problem. So what is really the expectation? Are we just going to continue to fail the students and not teach them how to read?
Anyways, with the iPad being such a big part of the younger generation's development, oftentimes it was used, like I said, as a form of entertainment or a distraction, or to get a kid to like calm down. I couldn't help but wonder that maybe the iPad has become the credit card and being dropped off at the mall because now that they're getting older. I do think that a lot of this behavior is coming from maybe parents like not using the word no or not holding really important boundaries with their kids. And I'm sure doing those things is like incredibly hard with your children. And I don't understand it from experience, but just thinking about it, like I could understand how that would be hard. But also like as a kid who was rarely told no growing up, like in hindsight, I really wish I would have been told no more often. Yeah, I say all this knowing it's literally impossible for parents to be everywhere their kid is or like monitor everything their kid is doing, especially online and especially on technology. I get that because like I did a lot of shit and saw a lot of shit and consumed a lot of shit that like I probably shouldn't have at a very young age. And I think the mall and Sephora and stuff like that has kind of become the place to go. Like it's always been a place to go, but I think it's really become the place for people, especially girls, to hang out because the idea of third places, meaning places that people or kids can go for like little to no cost, they're diminishing. Like they're non-existent anymore. And for me, like I had things like band and theater growing up that existed outside of home and school, and that was great. But even still, even with that, like we are seeing the like arts programs and music programs being cut or just like given a lot less money. So like that's happening also. And I do think a lot of it does go back to the parenting, but I also think a lot of it, if not more of it, lies in the complete monster that social media has become in this younger generation's formative years. I say all the time that like if I did have a kid, I do not know how I would navigate the whole conversation surrounding social media at all. Like I have no idea how I would do that, because as someone who grew up in the early 2000s and was a teenager in the 2010s, like the way that the internet and social media changed just from that decade was jarring enough, let alone seeing what it has become since then. As an only child, I was like very involved in extracurriculars and things outside of home and school, but I also spent a lot of time online. With the rise of YouTube at the time, I've had a lot of creators who felt like virtual big sisters or just virtual sisters. And I turned to them for a lot of things like life advice, useless DIY projects, but especially their recommendations for makeup and skincare. Because during that time is really when the rise of the beauty community happened. And I turned to them a lot when I was entering my teenage years. And I was like very interested in makeup, especially, and my mom wasn't. And she still isn't. And that's no shade to my mom. She's never been a makeup wearer, but like I wanted to learn about makeup and like learn how to do my makeup and stuff like that. I thought it was interesting. And so I learned how to do my makeup completely online through my favorite makeup girlies online. And on top of that, like I was probably exposed to a lot of things or trends that like I didn't need to have been at the time. And I think a lot of these girls now that we're seeing in Sephora and stuff like that, because a big question is like, why do they want these things? Or like, why do they want this skincare that they don't even need yet because they're so young? I think a lot of these girls still have influencers that they look up to, much like I did with my virtual sisters online, but instead of it being on YouTube, it's on TikTok. And as we know, TikTok is a hellscape of mostly short form content that is presented to us very quickly and for as long as we want it to be, really. Like, yes, they've now started to add those slides in where it's like, hey, take a break. But like, if it's 1 a.m. and you're just mindlessly scrolling on TikTok, you're probably just going to scroll past those too. I don't know. Not like I have experience in it or anything. But I can't help but think about how much this inundation of content is really fucking with young girls' heads and how it's really fueling the consumerism and the entitled or like needing behavior that these girls are exhibiting. Because the makeup girlies of my teenage years really kickstarted the beauty industry as we know it now. And I really think that the rise of TikTok has made it a lot worse. I wasn't wanting like skincare so much as I was wanting like the Urban Decay Naked palette. Like that was what I really wanted, and I still have my original one. I use it. You're gonna have to pry it out of my cold dead hands, but I wanted it all because these influencers at the time, who didn't really have that title yet, like were telling me how great it was. And I think one of the key differences between the makeup girlies of my teenage years and the influencers that tweens and teenagers have now is the age range that they fall into. So like when I was growing up, we had people like Bethany Moda and who else? My Life is Ava and Meredith Foster, who has taken like a Christian turn now. Anyways, like Arden Rose, who I can't remember what her name was at the beginning, but now her channel name is Arden Rose. And like all of these girls at the time were like within my age bracket. Don't get me wrong, like there was a lot of issues with influencers and stuff like that then as well. But for some reason, it just feels a lot different today. And I think it's because it's become more of a career path for people instead of just being born out of like a hobby. That being said, like I think only a certain amount of blame can be put on the influencer on social media because like a lot of them, if not all of them, never claim to be making content for kids. Now, like I said, now it's like literally just their job. But I think, as far as I know anyway, that like a lot of the TikTok influencers of today are much older than the young girls watching them. And so naturally, the young girls watching them are going to want the products that they see their favorite girlies online using. And just like how my faves online were telling me that I needed the Urban Decay Naked Palette or the MAC Paint Pot in Soft Ochre, these girls are being told that like this Drunk Elephant moisturizer or whatever the hell is like the best thing ever. And they're just and just like how I wanted to emulate my favorite online makeup girlies, so do the girls today. And they're just being lambasted with content about this because pretty much everything on TikTok is trying to sell you something now. And off that topic of just being lambasted with content, like this younger generation, they were also really young when the entire world shut down and like they weren't able to go to school. And their parents were forced into homeschooling them, and which is something they definitely didn't sign up for and takes a special set of skills. But like I'm sure that also only causes their screen time to go up, and like I'm sure that time on social media makes their parasocial relationships even stronger as they get older. I watched a video from one of my new online faves, Khadija Bow, and this was on the same, and their video was on the same topic, and they brought up a really good point about how the idea of like cringe has like totally looked down upon now, and how there's a lot, and how inherently like as a tween there's just a lot of like awkwardness and cringiness associated with that age because there's so much happening in your brain and in your life and all of that. They also brought up a thought that I had been struggling to on how to vocalize for a really long time, which is the idea of how the tween itself has like kind of died. They referenced an article in their video that mentioned, and I'll have this video linked down below because it's great, that mentioned how ages like 10 to 24 have become like lumped into one age group, which is like so concerning for a multitude of reasons. But I think it's so right, and I think that's part of what is causing this discourse to be so odd for me, because people are treating 10-year-olds and talking about 10-year-olds as if they are fully formed adult 24-year-olds. I think a lot of this has to do with the societal pressures that women and girls face pretty much their whole lives. And that's also where a lot of my issue lies with this trend on TikTok of just like bullying younger girls. Say what you want about the Barbie movie, but they got it right when they said it's literally impossible to be a woman or a girl. I think one of the reasons I feel so protective over this younger generation of girls is because, aside from like the destroying stuff and being rude, because that's unacceptable no matter what, is that because in adulthood, I've been working so hard on like deconstructing a lot of the harmful narratives I was fed about being a girl and being a woman and being a young woman my entire life. Even with that harmful stuff, my generation of tweens and young girls were still pretty much allowed to have the time to be cringy and awkward and weird, you know? Like, even then, our interests were chastised by people much older than us when, like, really, who cares? Like, I was a One Direction girl. I still am a One Direction girl. Like, I would sell my left kidney to go to a reunion concert. Like, that kind of... And I went to a concert, and, like, I got shit for liking One Direction when I was fully a teenager. Like, I feel like young girls' interests and stuff is always made fun of, but, like, that's a different topic. But it also kind of goes with this, right? But, like, we had Hannah Montana and, like, Disney Channel original movies and, like, the horrendous fashion from those premieres and movies and shows and stuff to, like, aspire to because we thought it was, like, the greatest shit ever, right? Now we can look back at and laugh at photos from that time because we had the time to just really be, like, just little fucking weirdos, you know? My Facebook got deleted. It got hacked and deleted. I'm still really sad about it, but I had some, like, peak younger Megan cringe that I would totally feature in this, but now it's lost to the archives. Facebook, if anybody from Facebook is watching this, please help me get my Facebook back. I want it back so bad. There's like 15 years of pictures on there. Anyways, we had magazines like 17 and J14 and stuff like that. Although 17 really did help me a lot. I will say 17 was always my favorite magazine growing up. Those magazines had cringy teenage content in it, like that tweens and teens loved. But they also like had things marketed or they also had marketing in there for products that were specifically for teens and tweens, which I think, and Khadijah brought this up in their video as well, is something that is missing now. The products that were marketed towards us in those magazines and on TV and stuff like that were oftentimes like skincare, right? And it was like Clean and Clear, the like orange face wash, or like Proactive, or things like that. And it oftentimes did more harm than good for us as well. We used those, the St. Ives body scrub, that kind of stuff. We had that kind of stuff marketed towards us. We had stores like Claire's and Limited Too, which like Limited Too, growing up as a fat girl, I could not shop at, which is a different topic for a different day. But you know, I still wore the shit out of those tacky ass like rubber spike earrings from Claire's. I had so many pairs of them. Whereas now, that's really missing, and I feel like that's why these girls are going from zero to drunk elephant. You know what I mean? When they don't realize the ramifications of using chemical exfoliants, retinols, that kind of stuff. And it's just expensive. Like, it's just expensive. And again, the rise and the boom of the beauty and skincare community, different topic for a different day. But like, shit's just expensive. And they want it because their favorite makeup girlies and favorite online influencer girlies are using it. And honestly, with this boom of conversation, I would not be surprised if the people over at like Drunk Elephant or whatever are just like scheming on how to make a whole line for preteen and teenage girls. I would not be surprised if we see that soon. Like Khadijah pointed out in their video, with social media booming the way that it has, the idea of being young and kind of cringy and kind of awkward and weird and like little fucking weirdos is like no longer being accepted by like older generations, meaning like Gen Z and millennials. And I think that's where a big part of this being seen as a problem lies. If they were to be seen wearing half the shit that the Disney Channel stars wore to awards shows and premieres and in the shows, or like, let's say, non-Lululemon leggings, they'd probably be harassed at school, which that is happening. Parents are coming on the TikTok saying that is happening. We had the same things with like Hollister and Abercrombie and stuff like that, but like for some reason the vitriol surrounding brands and not wearing certain ones seems a lot more vicious these days. And like, I think it's just because girls are all trying to like fit in, which we always have been, but for some reason it just feels like it's so much worse. To me, it seems like the insane rise of social media and influencers and stuff like that during this generation's formative years it's kind of causing the young girls to go from like 7 to 17 faster than we ever were. Like that middle ground, that middle time to be weird is gone. And it's so necessary to have that weird middle time. Like, you should be playing Pretty Pretty Princess with your girlfriends at a sleepover, or like I can't remember what game it was, but like I had to call the White House at a sleepover. I don't know, but it was just weird shit. And like I had so many pictures from this time, and I'm so grateful for that time. And I feel like these girls now are just being expected to go from 7 to 27 like so quickly. I think the rate that young girls are expected to grow up compared to the rate that young boys are expected to grow up, again, is a different topic for a different video, because it truly is something to behold. And I think the adultification of young girls is like a big issue, especially from someone who was adultified, parentified for a very long time. I really think that like, along with these societal pressures and stuff like that have been passed down from generations, that like this rise of social media and influencing and just being constantly sold to is not helping. And I think the biggest part that annoys me so much about this trend of talking about 10-year-olds in Sephora is the fact that it is all older women and girls talking about it. It's like, it wouldn't be less annoying if it were men, but like I feel like it would be more expected almost, because it's like, ladies, have we learned nothing? Have we not learned anything from any of our life experiences? Because if anything, when I see teenage girls and tweens being little fucking weirdos in public, so long as they're not like harassing people or being rude or destroying things, I smile because I'm like, wow. I remember, I mean, that time hormonally and mentally was not great, but just like in general, I look back on that time of my life with like so much joy because that's before shit got really hard and you had the mental capacity to be weird. It also makes me think, and I saw this on TikTok as well, they played the clip from Uptown Girls where Brittany Murphy's character is in the teacup with Dakota Fanning's character, talking about how like these girls in Sephora are wanting Drunk Elephant and other things that like older women and girls have to be seen as older. Women in their 20s and 30s and whatever are wanting to wear bows in their hair again and like revert back to some of their younger tendencies because the pressure of being a woman in society is so much like, and I just thought that was fantastic because it's really true. Like the teacup really never stops spinning. We really need to just be gentler on each other as women and girls, especially when it comes to the younger girls and how older women talk about them, because that will stick with them for the rest of their lives. I go on and on and on about this topic and why the criticism is just defaulting on these young girls instead of like everything else that kind of surrounds this conversation. Like I said, we absolutely like should not be allowing kids to like go into an establishment and just be little menaces. Like that's not it. But also these kids are being little menaces and think it's acceptable to be a little menace for a reason. And that is where the root of the issue lies, in my opinion. And I think, again, as older women, we should be more gentle to younger girls because they are growing up in a time that is way, way different than any of us have ever experienced. Like, we grew up with, like, harmful beauty standards and stuff like that. Everybody did. Every woman did. But I feel like now, with TikTok especially, and you can just scroll from one to the next, to the next, to the next, like, it is exhausting as a 27-year-old with the fully formed frontal lobe, you know? I can't even imagine how exhausting it would be as an 11, 12, 13-year-old girl. I just can't imagine. Even if you didn't know it was exhausting, like, I just can't imagine how overwhelming it is. And I think we need to be gentler on them. Anyways, let me know what you think down below. Thank you for giving me the time to make this video and like allowing me to venture off into other topics. I'm very excited about this. Let me know any other topic you might want me to cover in the future. Thank you so much to Kitsch again for sponsoring this video. Be sure to check the link in my description and use code MEGAN, MEGAN, for 25% off your first purchase. And yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. Thanks for watching. Remember to drink your water, take your meds if you need them, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.